All right, good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Let's do a quick sound check in the free room and over on YouTube. Mirza, Jay, Team Increase, Peter, okay, Russ, Andrew, Lorna, what's up, guys? All righty. So we had a couple earnings last night, Microsoft and Google. You might have heard of them. So Microsoft down around 338-ish. As far as structure, and obviously if you bought some calls yesterday, not the move you're looking for, but I think as far as structure here, 340-ish neighborhood, not the end of the world. You see this come down and take out the 50 SMA. Little bit of a different story. So Microsoft down a healthy 12, and then Google here. Pretty big push for Google, going to gap up around 130 bucks. So we were looking at Google in the gold room yesterday. You have the daily squeeze, you have the 2-day squeeze, and you have the 3-day squeeze. With a gap up here to 130, pretty good chance that daily squeeze will fire long today. And then obviously I'm not trying to buy it up here. It would be something I try to buy on a flush. But as far as that nested squeeze kind of setup, if the daily squeeze does trigger long, from there you're looking for the 2-day squeeze and the 3-day squeeze to do the same thing. So visually, maybe something like you gap up to 130, maybe a little bit of a dip. Then you try to buy that dip, playing for continuation of that daily squeeze. And then a little bit bigger picture, that 3-day squeeze looks really good. So Google and Microsoft out of the way. And then next week, let's see, Meta. No, Meta is tonight. All right, the party continues. So tonight is Meta. And then I think next week is Amazon and Apple. So all kinds of fun earnings action. And then I do think we have a Fed meeting or a Fed announcement today. We got something Fed related going on. But as far as a few setups here, guys, take a quick look at the market first. As far as the Qs go, no major problems. Things just seem a little bit tired. Looking up here at the big three signals, the daily chart has gone from bullish to neutral. So it's not bearish, just signs things are a little exhausted. 4-hour chart is neutral, the 2-hour, the 1-hour, 15-minute, and the 5-minute. Personally, what I would love to see, we might not get it, but I would love to see, is basically a repeat of what you had back here. You got the initial push. Everything kind of works back to the buy zone. Then from there, you print another daily squeeze. And that should trigger the next leg to the upside. So yeah, I'd love to see that. Maybe the Qs are a little quiet here as we get through the Apples, the Amazons, etc. But a daily squeeze or a 4-hour squeeze, a 2-hour squeeze, something I am looking for. You'll notice, though, down here on the squeeze labels, we got nothing. Whole lot of nada. So yeah, I think the Qs look fine here, just gearing up for the next move. And then as far as the S&Ps go, it's pretty much rock solid. You're a little extended, right? So the idea of a flush at some point, I don't think is the craziest thing. And I would view that as a buying opportunity. A little bit bigger picture, and I know we've talked about the squeeze here before. As the weeks kind of roll by, that monthly squeeze here does continue to look better and better. And we're actually getting a little bit closer to getting a buy signal. So if that's a 15-minute squeeze, a 30-minute squeeze, or an hourly squeeze, right now the trend, the structure, the squeeze, everything points towards that wants to go on and take out the highs. So for now, I think that's still in the cards. And a big part of that is just the breadth continuing to improve. Energy's looking better, healthcare's looking better, industrials, the financials, consumer staples. And you can see that here, excuse me, in the RSP, the equal weighted index. This also has that big monthly squeeze. But then check out the weekly chart. Weekly squeeze just fired to the upside. So everything continues to look pretty good here. As always, just be mindful of where you're getting long. Take a look at Mara, for example. You know, you got to understand. You might buy it right here. You might catch this whole push, right? It might feel like one of these moves where it's never going to stop. Or from my position, we bought it back here. We sold it right here. Now I'm waiting for a pullback. So for me, it feels like it's never going to pull back because it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. And for anybody continuing to chase those calls, it probably feels the same. The further and the further and the further you stretch from that 21 EMA, there's just that growing probability sometime soon we are going to come back on down to Earth. And that's kind of what you're seeing in Mara here. So just jumping back to the S&Ps real quick. Heading into today, we don't have any signals that would suggest we're going to pull back. But it's always in the cards. So now moving on to the good squeeze action. A couple that we traded this week, Walmart and Freeport. Walmart printed a nice daily squeeze. And Sam actually threw this one to me. We bought in on that candle and took that off up here, not quite at 160. That was the target on the trade. We took it off, I think, 50 cents shy. So made quick work of Walmart, and then yesterday we took profits in Freeport. Classic daily squeeze. So in the pursuit of a few more trades like that, a couple things for you. One that looks really good here is ADI. A lot of squeezes. Mainly the 4-hour, the daily, the 3-day, and the weekly. So there's your nested squeeze setup. And then from there, it's all pretty straightforward. You can anchor to your 4-hour squeeze. That's kind of the first of the bunch here that could get the party going. And then, yeah, it's pretty simple. If the 4-hour squeeze fires long, that not only is going to trigger a move on the 4-hour chart, that could trigger a move that goes on to see that daily squeeze firing long. So now that's going to trigger a move off your daily time frame. That might go on to trigger the 3-day squeeze. If things really get spicy, that might go on to trigger the weekly squeeze. And as I'm continuing to tweak the big 3 squeeze here, and I know a lot of you are asking, what's the update here on the squeeze? We're getting a little bit closer, so stay tuned is all I can tell you for now. But since I got a little bit more time to improve it, one thing I did throw in here are these labels. So big 3 squeeze entry zone in green. That's basically the green light for the squeeze. Got a squeeze. You have a big 3 buy signal. And that's all setting up at the buy zone. So a name like ADI, you have the green light on the weekly chart. The green light on the 3-day squeeze. There's no 2-day squeeze. And the green light on the daily. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's my favorite trade in the world. Got a squeeze, the structure is bullish, momentum is bullish, I'm at the buy zone. That's the good stuff. So ADI looks really good. And then AI here could get interesting. We do have a daily squeeze. We have a squeeze on the 4-hour chart. To me, the beauty here in AI is that 2-day squeeze. For now, that does shape up well for continuation. First push, first back test, brand new squeeze. Off she goes. ADI might be a little better. Couple more squeezes, couple more buy signals, but AI not all that bad. And then one that we bought into yesterday is Affirm, AFRM. Now for Affirm here, you don't have a daily squeeze, but you have the 3-day squeeze with the green light, 2-day squeeze with the green light, and the trigger for the entry yesterday was the 4-hour squeeze. And then you've also got a squeeze here on the 2-hour chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4 time frames of the squeeze, a buy signal at the buy zone. Now I've got calls, so obviously I'm looking for the domino effect to the upside. 2-hour squeeze fires long, takes out 18.5. That triggers the 4-hour squeeze, then the 2-day, and then you got yourself a move. So we're looking for 19.50-ish to $20. So there's Affirm. Another one that we got calls in last week is this Chesapeake CHK. The daily squeeze looks good. My only gripe here, earnings is on the 1st. The 1st of August is next Tuesday. And I don't really want to hold through the announcement. So in a perfect world, this gets to scooting towards 86, ideally before next Tuesday. But you got a weekly squeeze, a 3-day squeeze, a 2-day squeeze, a daily squeeze, 2-hour and the 1-hour. Next up is LYB. I kind of missed a great entry here yesterday. But I don't think I'm too late. I don't think we're too late here. Weekly, 3-day, 2-day, daily, 4-hour squeezes. Ideally, you're going to buy it back here closer to 92. You buy it back in that buy zone. You're going into yesterday's close in the profit. Your put credit spread's taken in premium. Your calls are up. Now, if the squeezes actually fire, that's how you lock in a big trade. Like Walmart, for example. These are really small details, but they're important. We bought Walmart, I'm going to say, like right here. Or maybe a little bit closer to right there. But point being, we bought Walmart somewhere in this neighborhood. Took the calls off up here for, I think, a 50-ish% return. Had we bought just a little bit closer to that daily 21, that's a 75-80% plus trade. Percent trade. Kind of the same thing there with Freeport. We're buying Freeport a little bit closer to 1 ATR. Still made 50-55% on the calls. If you're picking it up back here, it's closer to a double. So that's where, LYB would have loved to have gotten it a little bit lower yesterday. But as far as the squeezes go, everything's still coiled up. So let's see, 4-hour squeeze. So the fact that the label over here is dark gray tells me I have a squeeze, I got a buy signal, but it's not at the perfect buy zone. So the best trades are going to be those trades where you have a squeeze, you got your structure, you got momentum, and you're picking it up right above that 21. So maybe, if anything, a little dip here would help. But then the 2-day squeeze is at the buy zone. 3-day squeeze at the buy zone. Yeah, this thing's beautiful. So I fancy myself some LYB if I get the opportunity. And we'll fly through the rest here, guys. Baidu. Squeeze and a buy signal on the 2-day chart, the daily chart, in the 30-minute. So that's pretty solid. Yum. Squeezing on the weekly, the 3-day, the 2-day, and the daily. A lot of squeezes in Yum. PDL. PLD, excuse me. Oh, damn, I put PDL in the alert, huh? Let me correct that. Hold on. And then for those of you on YouTube, I'll copy and paste the watch list. PLD, not PDL. All right, hang tight, guys. I'm going to put this over on YouTube for the good people. All right. So PDL here. Big 3 squeeze on the 4-hour daily, 2-day, 3-day, and the weekly. Gotta like it. It's in my contract. I gotta like it. And then 2 names I would look to buy on the dip. Pepsi here has a nice squeeze on the 2-day chart, so wouldn't mind catching that on a dip. And then potentially Walmart. Actually, Walmart maybe not so much. If I'm going to buy it on the dip, I need something that really points towards, hey, this thing's still gearing up to go higher. That's Pepsi. Pepsi might have just fired the daily squeeze, but if I can catch it on the pullback, we're still coiled up over there on the 2-day chart. So that pullback might offer the entry to then try to catch that 2-day squeeze. But that's what I got for y'all. Pepsi, Walmart, PDL, Yum, Baidu, LYB, CHK, Affirm AI, and ADI. And then today we'll see what's up with the Fed, see what's up with Meta earnings tonight, and we'll take it from there. But if you guys and gals got any charts you want to look at, throw them at me. I saw one of you mention Lulu. Let's see. Yeah, Lulu's pretty solid here. Not to nitpick, but I am a nitpicker. Notice how the daily squeeze fired long, and you didn't really get too much from that squeeze. Like, kind of just pumps higher and then comes right back where it started. Just an observation. Where usually you want to see that daily squeeze fire, and ideally Lulu never sees these prices again. Squeeze fires, takes out the highs. That is a pretty big level of resistance, though. So that might not be the easiest level to break initially. What does look really good, though, is the 3-day chart. Yeah, that's pretty clean. So if anything can get this through the highs, it might be that squeeze here on the 3-day chart. It is a pretty one. Dr. Bob, ABBNY. For me at this point, it's a name I would try to buy on the pullback. It's a little bit like back here. It might continue. If I buy it right here, it might continue to go. Or it might pull back to that 21 and give me a much better entry. So with my style of trading, I'm a little bit late here. For what it's worth, though, I don't have any sell signals. So Nothing to actually suggest it wants to stop going higher. JB, no, nothing to do with volume. No. Good question though. Andrew's got GD. Yeah, man, I'm kind of hoping this one can just chill out before earnings. When is it? Oh, that's this morning. Hmm. Yeah, looks like it's up a couple bucks here. Pre-market bid and ask is 220, 222. Did you take any, Andrew? We got no skin in the game. Yeah, let's keep an eye on that one today. If it gaps up, we don't want to ignore it because Freeport announced earnings. They gapped up. At that point, easy enough to say, Freeport's gonzo. I'm just going to miss the whole move. Yeah. Then you get one more little kickback to the buy zone. Then the daily squeeze goes on to do what a daily squeeze does. Naeed, and my apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. As far as the December quarterly SPY trade, the party hasn't even started yet, really. I know those calls are up a bit since we took them, but the whole play here is that monthly squeeze takes the S&Ps above the highs. So as far as the move itself, no, we don't even have a buy signal yet. But I'm a fan of saying, hey, the squeeze is setting up. We are in an uptrend. Maybe the squeeze falls apart and fires short. But in the event we look up in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and lo and behold, squeeze fired long, took out the highs. S&Ps are up here at 500 plus. We're going to look back on that like any squeeze and say, kind of wish I bought some back there. So now we're doing it in a fashion where, we're treating it like a lottery trade. Putting on a level of risk where if the trade goes to zero, it's not going to be the end of the world. If that squeeze does hit, those calls are going from 25, 30 cents to $5 all the way up to $10, depending on how crazy things actually get. So I don't think you're late at all. Nope. Now, if anything, and by the way, nice trade. You bought them at 15 and sold them at 28. So you basically caught a double. So now what I would do if I was you, now you've got some profit to play with as far as this whole idea. So the next time the S&Ps pull back, if they do pull back, now what I would do is take my usual position size plus the profits you just made on that first trade, jump back into a similar trade. That's what I would do. But good work. Good work. Yeah, Neo had a crazy week. So far. WSM. Beautiful. 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 And the squeezes haven't even fired yet, so that all kind of looks like it's just getting going. Very clean. And then for Baba, think as far as like an active setup, I do see a little bit more in Baidu. Got a daily squeeze, got a 2-day squeeze, and then even Yum. Like just going through a few different Chinese stocks. Yum's got a handful of squeezes. That's pretty strong. But as far as Baba goes, to me, it's one of those things where if the Chinese stocks continue to perform well, then Baba should benefit from that. With that being said, as far as my go-to setup, Baba's just not that go-to setup at the moment. So then I would go to something like a Baidu or a Yum, and try to express the same idea. Yeah, JB, really good question. So JB asked, do I stay away from earnings? And he's finding out it's kind of a crapshoot. That's been my experience. That's been my experience. Like Google, for example. You go into earnings last night with good trend, good structure, bunch of squeezes, some buy signals. Things that would usually indicate it wants to go higher. And in this case, he would be right. I've seen setups better than Google get get hammered after earnings. And a lot of times they actually beat earnings estimates. I think that's the case here for Microsoft. I'm pretty sure they beat on earnings. It's a little bit more about that forward guidance. So to me, what I don't like about it, and keep in mind, there's some of this quote unquote risk at all times as a trader. Right now, I'm long a firm. Well, the firm doesn't have earnings this week, but overnight, Goldman Sachs could have downgraded it. The CEO could have gone on a drunken rampage. Like anything can happen. But what I don't like about earnings is now we've got a date written in stone that could potentially invalidate the entire setup. Like the trend, the structure, the squeezes, all the pretty colors, to an extent, they just kind of get tossed out the window. So for me, if you can catch a push into earnings, earnings is on Friday the 15th, and you're buying calls on the 5th. Yeah. A couple weeks out from earnings, catching a push into the announcement, I like that. But for me, at least in my experience, to hold through the announcement, it's a coin flip. At least is what I've found. Any success I've had taking earnings trades has been, they're not directional trades. Had I done an earnings trade on Microsoft last night, for me the earnings trade is all right. What's the expected move? I'm going to try to sell an iron condor a little bit further out the money than that expected move. It's not the sexiest trade. You might be risking $400 to make $100 per contract. But to me, that's a little bit less of a crapshoot. And you could actually still say it is a crapshoot, but more often than not, they tend to stay within the expected move. So does anybody know what the expected move was for Microsoft? We're down like $10 right now. Was it 20? Something like that? I think $20. All right, $20. So, and again, I didn't do it, but for me, the trade would have been, all right, I'm going to sell some calls up here at 370 plus. And because of that implied volatility, you can actually do that. They got a little bit of meat on the bones. So I'm going to go $20 to the upside. I'm going to go $20 to the downside. So my short puts down here at 330. And then this morning with an open at 340, that trade should be close to max profit. Expected move was $20. We are not up or down more than $20. So therefore, all those pumped up calls, all those pumped up puts, they get creamed. Now you could have done that on Google. I'm not sure what the expected move here for Google was, but Google's up like 7%. So food for thought there. But for me, it's always been a little bit. It's like a scratch ticket, and this might work. Might work in a huge fashion, or it might be a total dud. Nothing I would ever really kind of lay some serious risk into. And I've done it, mind you. I've done it. I mean, for transparency, one of my biggest trades was a trade in Amazon a couple of years ago that I held through earnings. When it gapped up 5% the next morning, that was awesome. Had that gap down 5%, that would have been one of those horror stories you hear about. Dave, what do I think of Generac? I think very solid, and I think more importantly, that should be the bottom. You're back above all the key moving averages. Your 21's back above your 50, 21's back above the 200. The Bulls have done a really good job here of shifting structure and momentum. And you'll notice that, they've kept the momentum line above zero since May, which means now they're handling a pullback like an uptrend. Here comes Generac. Momentum breaks, back down it goes. Everything's pretty stable here. And then you have your daily squeeze setting up with squeezes on the 4-hour and the 2-hour. So look for your 4-hour and your 2-hour squeeze to be your trigger. 2-hour squeeze fires long. That could trigger the 4-hour. That could trigger the daily. And then from there, you're off to the races. But all right, guys, I'm gonna let you go here. Get ready for the open. And today's Wednesday, right? I might be back in here on Friday. I'm not too sure. But for those of you in the mastery, I'll keep all updated on the open trades. And then, as always, we'll be live tomorrow and Friday. But all right, y'all, as always, thank you for your time this week. Appreciate you showing up here in the mornings, getting a little bit of extra work. And I'll talk to you soon. Adios.